You never talk about money, about your teams, how financially free they are. The more financially free your teams are, the better the ideas. Brands that are high on mental visibility, high on physical visibility and virtual visibility, and are available tend to do well.
What's the biggest lie in marketing?
The first one I had found all the time, is this one I've told you that you need to be first in market. That's a lie. My name is Mzamo, as you've all heard. And what I thought I would do is talk about what are the things that don't change versus the things that change. So, before I do this, let me put a disclaimer. First 15 years after 1994, I was not free. I was thinking this democracy thing might end, so I must still get ready just in case. But then after 15 years, freedom. Now the problem is I just speak. And now I have to put disclaimers so that you know these are my words, not anyone else's words. Now, I remember Mandela speaking, because I'm from Cape Town, and I remember Mandela speaking at the 1990. And what I remember the most when I analyzed the speech, I actually even put it on an AI and I did a factor analysis to see what were the keywords that came up. And the key things that were happening in that speech is he spoke about what will not change rather than what was changing. And the first thing he talked about was nonviolence. He said, no, okay, I'm now going to use the words of today, no white genocide. And he said it. Even the 49 who left did hear it because they stayed. So what then meant for me is that the challenge I have with a lot of leaders is that we are very keen on being cool on what's changing. So we like what's in the zeitgeist. And so we like it with our teams. We talk about what's changing. What we forget, though, is that your brain actually weighs 2% of your body weight, irrespective of what body weight you have, because some of you are doing the maths. Now, but it consumes over 20% of your total body energy. Now, when you're a manager and a leader and you constantly say to your team, this is what's changing, what you are doing is you are stressing the system. So your teams are actually more stressed by you being crazy about AI. And they are more stressed about the new things you are talking about and really talking about the things that are not changing. So when you're speaking to your teams, you should be saying, this is 80%, 90% of the things that are not changing. Because what the brain wants, because it's a predicting tool, organ, it wants to know what's not changing. And it's even worse when your team are broke. Now, when your team are broke, the brain is in stress every day. And you know that your team are broke because they're not sleeping well. Because when you're broke, your dreams are not great. Most of your dreams, you are either being chased or you are running and you wake up screaming. Then you know you are broke. Because if you are not broke, you're going to dream talking to Oprah or someone. Then you know you're not broke. So what you forget as leaders, even in marketing, is that constantly you are all crazy about what is changing, but you are stressing the system. And managers are responsible for 80% of all chronic medication used by your staff. You get staff sick a lot with your new things. But what you should be doing is figuring out when you go to your team what is unchanging versus the 10%, which is mostly 10 to 5% what is changing. But that part you don't want to talk about because then it's not going to make you look cool to your team. But another thing we do is we think that evolution, because technology evolution is faster, by the way, human evolutionary biology is slow. And the gender that is even slower is me, like Y chromosome. Those ones, men, like we evolve slow. When you ask us, like, what are you thinking? And the answer is nothing. We genuinely mean nothing. And your species might say, how can? No, it's because my brain and this device, I have not met each other yet. because my brain is still wired for hunting a lion. And now I have to have nothing, because if I had a lot, then I won't hunt. That's why I forget easily. Men should forget easily, because if you remember every hunt, you will be depressed. Whereas if you're a nurturer, you have to remember every detail on how a child should survive. So it's actually evolutionary biology. It has nothing to do with anything else. So please do remember next time I'm also talking that side. Like when she said, "What you thinking?" and I say nothing, and he says, "But you have a PhD." I'm like, "Yeah, it happened. Nothing. Evolutionary biology." So the only species I've noticed that evolves in 15 years is comrades. These ones, everywhere in the world, they evolve. They start there with AK-47, and you all know, you've seen them, you've met them. They are around us. They also offer commissions. So what's unchanging? So I'm going to take you to certain principles about things that I believe that grounded on as a practitioner, but also as an academic, as in what is unchanging. When you think about brands and you think about marketing, all of that, what's unchanging? The very first thing, I split this into two parts, you as a brand. Because we forget that even if you are in marketing or you love marketing, you yourself are a brand. You are a walking personal brand, and your team look at you all the time. Do you know that there are studies done that if you dress this way and you come in and you're a new manager or leader, in 6-7 months, your team looks like you and they dress like you. Monkey see, monkey do. So you are open copy. They even know the mood you're coming in. They can say, "Hey, today, hey, it's not looking great." So they are always studying you all the time. So which means you are a walking billboard and personal brand. They even have AI detection now. They're looking at your face and they're doing emotional recognition just to see if they can ask for a raise or no raise, rating. All of that is happening instantly. So what is it about this? The first thing I thought I should talk about is all brands. I remember this because I was in Robben Island with a few teams from Google, and the gentleman who was giving the tour talked about choices and decisions. And he says that we're all making choices and decisions. And even with marketing, your marketing brand score, someone actually taught me this, that Sunshine actually taught me this and said, your P&L and your balance sheet is a reflection of your choices and decisions. Your brand health score, if you measure brand health, it's actually a reflection of your choices and decisions. So actually numbers are a reflection of choices and decisions. And this is unchanging. Whatever crap decisions you make, we will see them on the dashboard. It's actually a reflection of your choices and decisions. So may you make better choices and decisions. And by the way, for those who are old enough, when you are young, you look like your parents. At my age, you look like your choices and decisions. And that's it. You don't look like anything else. You are your choices and you are your decisions. It's the same with the marketing. If you look at that scoreboard of marketing, if you measure dashboard from brand performance to brand equity, all of those measurements, when you see them moving up and down, it's your choices and decisions. So make better choices and decisions. I wanted to tell you this part, actually. I don't know how to move. I wanted to tell you this, that someone was telling me that my teams are cheating. Here's the thing that's not going to change. Human beings have been cheating for a very long time. And this is not changing. AI didn't invent cheating. Just AI is just making it better. But the cheater is the cheater. So you're not going to now blame AI for cheating. It's just not AI. It's just us. We're inherently flawed. And we cheat. I mean, I know now, for example, if you use this, I'm not giving you tips. For example, this app, clearly, people use it when you are in interviews or talking to someone. While they're talking, it does an audio to text detection, and then it gives you an answer. And then you can respond. But they do it in interviews, by the way. Yeah. So is it cheating or is it improvement in progress? So that's what you must realize, that cheating is not going to go away. Our job is just to manage it. It's chronic like diabetes. So the other part about marketing as well that's changing is your level of ignorance is infinite about the consumer. It's not finite, it's infinite. And also, the higher your level of ignorance, the higher your prejudice about the consumer. So actually, your prejudice is directly correlates with your ignorance. Same, by the way, everyone else. If you are ignorant about LGBTQ, then your prejudice is high. I know this with myself because when I was in San Francisco, first time at Google, I went to the toilet and then I went in and I looked at the toilet. It had sanitary pads. And I was like, this is a wrong toilet. I ran out because I'm thinking I'm going to get sued. Americans like to sue. So I'm going to get sued. So then I went out and I looked and I counted 10 guys going in first because I wanted to make sure. Then I went in and then I picked all the sanitary pads, each, not the box, just each. Then I went into the toilet. I used YouTube and Google Lens and I scanned each because I wanted to know why are these in this toilet and what do they do? And then I learned, oh, these ones are for people who are transitioning. Oh, these ones are for this condition. Oh, then I studied the biology of the bum. Oh, the bum is structured this way. Now I was like, shit, I didn't know that. And then what the lesson I learned from all that thing is that I'm binary in my thinking. The fact that I didn't think beyond the alphabet that I'm in, it says a lot about how ignorant I am. So we all, and that's my consumer too. And that consumer I need to know very well. See, so here's the thing. I've already told you that your brain is a predicting tool. It's predicting for survival. Now, most teams I've noticed in marketing or especially marketing and comms, you never talk about money, about your teams, how financially free they are. The more financially free your teams are, the better the ideas. If your team is broke, their cognitive bandwidth is compromised. And that's why most people complain that poor people make poor decisions. No one is stupid. Life is hard. So you make poor decisions because your cognitive bandwidth is compromised. That's why if you're poor, you can't invent a Tesla. Because you don't have the time to be thinking about a driverless car when you're chasing a taxi. And you don't have time because your basic Maslow needs are not met. So think about it in your team. Poverty and psychology of scarcity, it compromises your brain. It compromises ideas. So when you know as a leader that your team is poor, I'll give you one thing that is not even scientifically tested, but I think it works. When you are a leader and you're in a meeting and everyone laughs at your jokes, like you say something, everyone's already on the floor, your team is broke. That's it. There is no way in hell you are Trevor Noah. You are not funny. That funny that everything you say is funny. The only reason they are laughing, they just worried about losing their jobs. And they are making you feel like you are funny. And so the other thing that we're learning is that you as a personal brand, if you want to create a team that comes up with great brand ideas, this is the key thing that you need to learn. And this means I got this feedback when I became the VP at Unilever. Like they did a 360 and I got this feedback. And this word means, why am I talking? Why am I talking is a key thing. In most leaders in marketing comms talk a lot. And the more you talk, the less ideas you have. And the other part that no one wants to talk about is in meetings, men interrupt women 7 times more in 5 minutes. So when women are talking, men are more likely going to interrupt you 5 times. So now I'm talking to men. Can you please find it in your heart when a lady is talking in a meeting, can you just shut up? And actually ask her, are you done? Or ask her, what I've just heard you saying is 1, 2, 3, to show that you are listening to understand, not to reply. So that's the second part. The third part on wait, that women don't wait when asked who's gonna make tea, who's gonna decorate the room, organize the event. So also we're asking you, can you please stop? You can't be at Henley doing MBA and now you're volunteering, organizing an event and doing tea. Hi, Nani, you are really messing up the whole degree. So the other part with great ideas in marketing that don't change is most leaders in marketing or advertising, even agencies, are conflict avoidant. You are conflict avoidant with agencies. You are conflict avoidant with your team. And if you don't fall in love with conflict, you don't invite harmony. You actually invite indifference. When you are drowning, there's enough evidence to show you that they will save your ass so that they remind you that I saved your ass. And then they go tell other people. And hate is actually better in marketing and PR comms because people who hate you will talk about you. That's what we call airtime. They will increase awareness. You become top of mind awareness. Haters are good for you. And other part is what leaders forget in marketing and brands is you are not man. Only money is liked by everyone. Even Jesus, gone. He came, half didn't like. So who are you to think that you are going to be liked by everyone? So your job as a leader who wants to grow brands, wants to grow ideas, is not to be liked, but is to be effective. Your number one job is the same with parenting. It took me a long time to learn this. My job as a parent is to be effective. My kids don't need to like me. I'm not TikTok or YouTube or Facebook. My job as a parent is to be effective. Actually, when my kids don't like me, it's a sign I'm doing something right. Sometimes with your team, when they don't like you, it's okay. Your mother loves you. Just settle with that. But stop wanting to be liked. You're not money. Here are some books I thought at least give you some stuff that you can look at if you want to improve your conflict. Oh, by the way, on gender studies, women are more conflict avoidant than men at work, not in a relationship. I just wanted to clarify. In a relationship, it's something else, but at work, women are more conflict avoidant than men. So it's work. Lots of work needs to be done. The more you fall in love with conflict, the greater the ideas. You must fall in love with conflict. You must really love conflict. The agency must love conflict. You must love conflict. And just the only thing you need to learn is to fight right. That's all. You're tackling the ball, not the play. And you do it with care and respect. But you are forthright. My weakness, I'm forthright. Sometimes the how can have a lot of improvements. Area of development. So that was about you as a personal person brand, but also someone who leads brands and comms and someone who leads a business that is a brand. Now, what is it that we learn from brands now that is unchanging? What we learn from brands that is unchanging, the first thing is the desk is a dangerous place to view the world. I'm a statistician. I can do data analytics, but what we need more of in marketing is social science. Just because there's AI and it can do the analytics for you, there's Claude, there's Copilot, all of these can do. What you don't have is why. What you need is why people do the things they do. And that you need to be an anthropologist. You need to be a sociologist. You need to be an economist. You need to be a psychologist. You need to be a social worker. And if you look down on these disciplines, you don't become a great marketeer. You don't become a great comms, a great creative or creator. This is the place. You need to be able to go to the taxi rank and sit and ask people, what are you using? And then I find out what you're using, then now I know. So we still need to go out. We need to tell our teams to get out there. And if your team doesn't have even 1 week, 1 day a month where you're out there on the field, you are listening to consumers, you are at the call center, with the call center team, you are listening to people swearing at you so that you know what the consumer needs. And you can answer why, not what, when, who, where. That's what data science answers. But data science doesn't answer why. So you still need this. So the desk is a dangerous place to view the world. The other part is we are not always in the business of building brands. We are actually in the business of building solutions. We need to make the solution better. Then the brand will get better. So that's why as a marketer, if I have a bad product, the only thing I can become is a spin doctor. Like if someone says to me, I must justify this is what you call it, it's a pool, but it's not a pool, but it's a thing to put fire down. And now that's spin doctoring. And that as a marketer, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be a spin doctor. Your job is to first look at the product, that it's a great solution. When consumers complain about price, they are not complaining about price. They're complaining about absence of a solution. So price is never the issue when someone is wearing a Louis Vuitton and they're walking around in that Louis Vuitton and their self-esteem moves from 10 to 20. That's a solution. So we are in the business of selling solutions, not selling brands, products, or services. So the most thing we should be obsessed about is this a great solution? And if it's a great solution, price is never an issue. No one complains about price when you have a great solution. The other part as well that is unchanging is that storytelling is the thing. Facts tell and stories sell. We are in the storytelling business. That's what we are in. We are not in anything else but in the storytelling business. We must tell great stories. Because what people are actually listening to, because we have, in behavioral science, we say humans are predictably irrational. The reason we say that, 90% of you have probably slept and woke up next to someone and said, what was I doing? Because your brain is just irrational. At the time when you made the decision, it sounded rational. And then when you wake up, you're like, yo, this I can do better. That's the same thing the consumer does as well. We are telling stories so that we capture the heart more than the head. We are in the heart and feelings business. We are in an emotions business. So please tell better stories. And here are some tips on telling better stories. The first thing is the creative. The creative, big idea. If you're on digital media, for example, it counts for 89% of your ROI. The greater the creative, the big idea, the better. So you must obsess with big ideas. You must obsess, but the big ideas come from why. That means you need to know people. You can't just be a data scientist. You need to also be an anthropologist to get a great why. And you see, even in all other media types, creative accounts, even if you go in traditional media, ATL or TV, it's 50%. So you have a great idea, you've done a lot with your money. If you have a bad idea, you're going to spend a lot of money trying to make a bad idea travel. The other thing here, the 4 V's that we don't always see a lot with marketeers now. A lot of you, when I go to your company's websites, they are still, it looks like it's an academic institution. They are copy heavy. People don't read that much copy, but you need video, you need audio, you need visual. Do you know that if I put an image, this image, and we do an eye tracker, your eyes will look at that image 44 times more than this text. So we know already that you're visual beings. You are actually visual beings because you look at each other and you are visual beings. You don't look at a person and like, I like your name. And that's what you fall in love with. No one has so far done that, fall in love with a name. So why are you now not doing this in marketing? Why all of a sudden a lot of your stuff is just copy heavy? Like you're trying to show off that you can write English well in a country where less than 6% speak English as first language. I did a study on why mother tongue matters. And one of the things we tell stories is mother tongue. So you guys need to remember that I actually did an ad. I took an English ad, dubbed it into Xhosa, Zulu, and Afrikaans, and I wanted to see same ad tested by Millward Brown, and this ad did well. These were the numbers: short-term sales effect, awareness index, and then I just dubbed it, same voiceover in Xhosa, Zulu, Afrikaans. The numbers, statistical significance, change. Why are we lazy that we only 95% of South African TV ads are in English? In a country where less than 6% speak English as first language at home. If you are dreaming in English, your problems are lightweight. You are on low-fat problems, or like, what do you call now? Nuts, the milk made from nuts. Almonds, yeah, those are your problems. Yeah, you're on almond milk. When you have big problems, you dream in your mother tongue, and then you know this problem is heavyweight problem. It's the same when you are shouting at your kids and you are angry at your partner. There are English words that just disappear and your mother tongue kicks in faster. So why now? You know that with you, why are you not doing that with the consumer? The user is shortchanged in this country. Even Afrikaans-speaking people in this country are more than English-speaking people at home. But even Afrikaans is suffering. Why? And it's even worse now. The generation of marketing directors and CMOs are becoming black. So it's a poor indictment. Why? Is it because you all went to private school and now English is the thing? What happened to mother tongue? I did this with Domestos as well. And this ad was not performing well in English. And then all we did was dub it. And this, the same with Zulu. The numbers are the same with Afrikaans. And if I put you on an fMRI scan and I look at your brain, it's called cognitive load. And we look at how you move from English to translate English. We can see you are working. The brain maps, it's like they are blood red because you are trying to move from English to translate. You're doing many things. You're working. So that's why I always used to say to people when they say to me, I wake up, why are you angry? No, in that board meeting, a lot of English was used. Only when I was sleeping, then I started decoding what was being said. And then I realized that so-and-so was insulting me. So the reason I'm angry today, not yesterday, is because it's only dawned on me now that that was an insult. Whereas if they said it in Afrikaans, it's way better. I grew up in Cape Town. When the police said in Afrikaans, it's a little donor, you get the point quickly. In English, you're still not sure. The other thing about storytelling is the less the message, the better. You need to tell one thing or maximum two, not more than three. But actually, if you can, stick to one. When we sell devices, if you notice all device ads, the number one feature is just one feature, which is the camera. We are all telling you about the camera, the resolution, the fact that it's high on battery life, high on this storage. You will find it on the brochure. We pick one thing. Somehow, I was at the airport and I saw, I'm not mentioning the brand name, and I was looking, they had 8 messages. And I counted them. And do you know that what happens when we do advertising testing with 8 messages? The consumer might remember the brand, and then you ask them, what was it about? They're like, that's too much work. I'm not going there. I have other problems. Do you know that it gets worse as you get older? Because let's say, especially if you're a man, now you have other problems like erectile dysfunction, other problems. And now you are watching this ad, and now this ad, you are having this problem, men's health problems, and now this ad comes up. What are the chances that I'm going to give you? My cognitive bandwidth is compromised already with a major issue. And now you are asking me to remember something about Domestos. Why? Please, I'm begging you, can you keep it tight? The other part that is not changing is visibility and availability. Brands that are high on mental visibility, high on physical visibility, and virtual visibility, and are available tend to do well. So in the olden days, when we talk about availability, we use the word weighted distribution or nominal distribution or distribution. It's just availability. The more available, the better. I'll give you an example. My sister is here, but she's not supposed to hear this story. So my nephew looks at a girl. He comes to me as a consultant to help with generating leads and hopefully move to conversion. So I say to him, is the girl aware? Visibility. You exist in class. Hey, I'm not sure, uncle. I'm like, okay, what we're going to do, we're going to move you from where you're seated next to the girl. Now we increase visibility. So I said to him, do you see? Visibility. Then I said to him, the second thing is, it's not, you don't have to be first in marketing. You just need to be better than. That's what we've now seen. Better than beats first all the time. Nothing Apple has launched, they were first, but they were better than. Google, all Google search, the search engine, Google, YouTube, you name it, they were not first. Google was probably number 15 search engine, but they were better than. You just need to be better. You don't need to obsess with being first. There's a thing with marketing where we used to say you must be first. It's not true. There's no data that proves that being first, where it's actually being better than sustains you in the long run. So I asked him, what are you better than the other guy? Do you know who are the other candidates where we need to take market share from? Because it's very important we make sure we stand out. And now we're going to increase awareness and then increase trust, increase consideration. And then when we're in the consideration space, we go into conversion, my child. And now I'm showing him that visibility and availability works. Availability, then I said, you now need to be available whenever she needs something. You are available. Carry the bag, availability. And when you do these two things, you are top of mind. You see, I'm doing marketing with a nephew. You're not supposed to repeat this at home. My nephew. And the other part then is distinctive assets. What most markets, they get bored before the consumer gets bored. What we mean by distinctive assets is this. James Bond, from 1958 to now, there's 10 to 12 distinctive assets that haven't changed. The first one is the white guy. He's always been white. He will remain white, and he should remain white. Why? I know the kings and the queens of DEI here want the guy to be black, Idris Alba or something. Now, what you don't realize is you destroy a brand when you remove its distinctive assets. Now, the next question I'll ask you is, now if he's black, then the next one will be Indian. And then if he's not Indian, he's going to be overweight. If he's not overweight, he must be in a wheelchair. If he's not in a wheelchair, so where are we going? Is it still James Bond then? So you take DEI and apply it in everything that doesn't need DEI. So you actually destroy brands because you want to look like there's a colored person, Indian, black, white, and that's not reality. I don't hang out with all three all the time. It's rare, actually, I have a colored, black, and white in one place. I'm mostly with darkies or an Indian, or it's rare. Unless you guys are rainbow. I haven't been rainbow yet. But somehow you like showing rainbow. The other distinctive assets here in James Bond is this gun. It's been there from 1958 to now. The other one is a gorgeous lady that comes out of the water in a bikini and the hair does something. And it's been there. And if you go and watch and you do film studies, you will see that it's the same distinctive assets. The question then to all of you is, what are your brand's distinctive assets? What are you not going to get bored with? Because you get bored easily. What are you not going to get bored with? And the more you keep the distinctive assets, the more the brand grows, because again, the brain wants shortcuts. That's all the brain wants. It's shortcuts. And what the brain needs is shortcuts. When you watch Generations and you don't watch it for 2 weeks, when you go back, you can pick up because it has distinctive assets. And that's what we need to do with our brands. We need to stop trying to change everything. I know new people come in, they look at the brand because now you're the new CMO, you want to be cool, you change everything. You've destroyed the consumer. You are stressing us. I already told you we have problems, big problems. And now you are adding to our problem. And now we must decode your advertising. We're not doing that. Your advertising is not NASA. We're not solving big problems. We just want to drink a Coca-Cola. So these are the things that we now need to know, that distinctive assets work. I thought because there's DI people here, I'll put a guy and a girl. Same thing works with Barbie. I have 3 daughters and I've watched almost a lot of Barbie. And Barbie is not going to change. Barbie is white. I know you want her to be black. I know if you want distinctive assets to change, like I've said to people, if you want a different James Bond, just go watch Equalizer. Or go watch Black Panther. Or create another one, action movie that kick ass with a black guy or Idris Elba. But stop dragging all these things into brands, because there's a holy thing, spaces with brands, where if you mess them up, the brand dies. And it dies slowly, by the way, brands. They don't die quickly. You change and it dies, and you see brand equity declines over time. When brand equity declines over time, you see market share and sales also follow. But the first thing that comes is brand equity. But you see it dies slowly. So the other part with brands that don't change is the thing that I've seen even at Canva is that a brand that does the most value, creates the most value for the company, is a great brand. A brand that gives us a bonus at the end of the year is a great brand. A brand that does this and do the most good into society is a great brand. These brands are more sustainable than brands who only do one, either or. A brand that does end-to-end is an amazing brand. So these are some of the principles that I thought I will give you that work. Whether you like them or not, they just work. The last thing someone asked me about duration of content. How long should content be when you're doing content? There's nothing in the studies I've looked at that says that all of you now, all of a sudden, because of TikTok, you think of short format content is the way. It's not true. Great stories are the way. And no one has ever said, when is this movie going to come to an end if it's great? You watch a Marvel and it's 3 hours and you watch it and you finish and you're like, is it done? Because it's a great story. You are captured and you suspend disbelief. That's what great stories do. You suspend disbelief and you lose time. That's a great story. If it's a crap story, you know in 10 minutes. And now you are stuck at the cinema because now you have a sunk cost fallacy to deal with. Because you paid, now you're like, hey, do I leave? Do I stay? My 100 rand, what do I do? The issue is the story is bad and you know it. It's so the same. I don't think you should obsess with, am I making a 20-second, a 30-second, or 1 minute or 5 minute? What you should obsess with is great story. And if it's a great story, it doesn't matter if it's 60 seconds, 50 seconds, 1 minute, we will watch it. And by the way, production quality is not a true determinant always. Of if you have a great story, when you watch Nollywood and you see the other camera points, you see it. No one has left because you saw the camera point somewhere, because the story is great. Human beings forgive things when the story is great. But when the story sucks, we notice the camera, we're like, this thing, yes, it's even poor production. Why am I torturing myself? So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and it's my enormous pleasure to be asking some questions of this wonderful marketer here and human being who we've heard a short talk from. A short, but nonetheless incredibly intelligent and gripping talk. Thank you very much, Mzamo. So we are going to open up to questions to the audience, but in the meantime, I'm going to ask a few entirely meaningless questions, and you can do what you want for them. And the first question I'm going to ask you, which has always made me very curious, how could you not be replaced by AI?
There are certain things about my role that do need to be replaced, because then I will become even more productive. So if you're talking about increasing productivity and simplifying complexity, then I do need those elements of AI. So for example, I don't want to sift through large data sets. I can give that to an AI model and we can do some of that for me. I just want to do the analysis so that I can get to the why faster. So that part, where it's not going to replace me is why. I'm the one who goes out and hang out with people, who eat their food, who sleep in their homes, who listens to people. It doesn't do that. And it's based on historical data. I'm forward looking and I'm listening to people. So that is not going to replace storytelling. AI builds advertising. The bulk of the advertising built by an AI model, it's historical images, historical creative. We can create new things. So that is not going to replace. So I don't feel like I'm in any time at the moment where I'm more likely going to be replaced. And by the way, I always say to people, there was a time when we invented fire and there were complaints. And then we invented a spade. People were being paid for digging by hand, complaint. And then because we had now more cognitive bandwidth to do other things, we invented other things. Human beings always will fill in a void. We will find a way. When AI takes 3 hours of my day and it's now free, I will find something to do with that 3 hours. So I'm not as like doomsday yet. I actually feel like it will free up my cognitive bandwidth for things that are even better and great.
Thank you. I mean, that's a fantastic answer. I mean, I wish I thought of it myself. But anyway, it's so good because it means we, in a sense, are trapped into something the way we're working, but don't know it. And although it's scary to get out of it, you can subcontract that love to AI and you can grow into something much bigger even more than you ever imagined. Is it that sort of idea you say?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if you think about a lot of the technologies that we've introduced, earlier on, we're all scared or there's friction and we're all worried because the brain is trying to make sense for its own survival because we are surviving beings and we always responsive to change. Like Darwin says, it's not survival of the fittest, it's survival of the most responsive to change. Our job is just to be responsive to this change and not fight it, but work with it. The more you fight this change, the more they say if you don't like change, you would like irrelevance even more. So if you want to be irrelevant, then fight some of this change. But if you want to be in the heart of your survival, then just work with it.
So think about marketing, because you are a marketing expert, whether you admit to that or not. So marketing is not just about branding. It's not just about SEO. It's not all that stuff. It's about a lot more, isn't it? So what do you think the role of marketing is in generating major change in the world?
I like the book that that talks about choice architect. I think we are choice architects, and we are helping users and consumers make choices. People make something like 33 to 35,000 decisions a day. If that's the case, we are the choice architects, and some of those decisions involve what to eat. Just food occupies a huge chunk of those choice decisions. So if I'm in the food business and I'm a brand, and so I'm in that, so I must help the consumer narrow their choices. So we are choice architects. So our job really at the core is to simplify choices and give consumers less choices. And then the other part is we are also there to grow the business, to grow shareholder value. It's not only the job of the sales team or the CFO, the finance, or the engineering team. We are also there to add value. So when we sit in the boardroom, we must also know the P&L, the balance sheet, the cash flow. We must not look dumb and P&L illiterate, and we don't know what ROI mean or return on capital employed. And now we look dumb in the presence of the CEO and the CFO. We are responsible for making marketing not have presence. When a CMO doesn't have business acumen, they make marketing not have presence. So it's actually our job as well to be business people.
Thank you. And so in other words, the tools of persuasion and the making meaning and all that can actually really help much more than the product to making profit. It can help us understand the life we're in,
Yes.
and perhaps imagine a different future as well. And that's part of marketing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Imagine a future with a product or a service, or even a different society.
And we've shied away as marketers because the procurement team, the finance team, the engineers said that we look like we're always high and we're smoking something and we're dreaming. So sort of a sudden, using your right brain or using a brain that imagines things has all of a sudden been looked down at. And now all of a sudden you need to only have a brain that's logical, that's analytical, that does data analysis. All of a sudden, if you have a brain that just wants to dream, it's somehow all of a sudden it's not a cool brain. And our jobs is to do both, is to worship and live in the intersection between art and science. That's our job. You live in the intersection between, you worship both. When someone asks you what you're worshiping, I'm worshiping both art and science.
And by art, you don't mean just painting.
No, I'm just
You mean everything artists.
everything about imagination, creativity, magic. Because a lot of our marketing, sometimes it's magic. The truth is you don't always know it's going to work. And now the accountant is asking you, give me proof it's going to work. You don't always know. It's magic. And then when it works, it's like even like signing a sponsorship deal. When you sign a sponsorship deal, you don't always know that the Springboks going to win 2 World Cups. You can post-rationalize it and say, hey, that was a great decision. But you don't always know that. But you go on gut and intuition. And all of a sudden now we are in a generation where gut and intuition is no longer respected. When someone says my gut, so they say, no, you must have a PhD. You can't use gut. No, I should use gut because it works. So those are the things I just feel like we need to bring them back. They're cool.
Yeah, because gut feel is like when you have a sense of something, but your rational brain hasn't been able to make a pattern about it. You haven't got the words to describe it. but it's a deep understanding that your intuition has put together, isn't it?
Yes.
And do you think that's what marketing people can bring into businesses? So we become overly rational, we become overly doing the same thing. Can good marketing people help completely change the trajectory of a business into something very different? Is that the powerful role of a CMO?
It is indeed. Like we can, if we stop wanting to be liked by the CFO and the CEO, especially these two, and then procurement. These three. Sorry if you're in procurement or these three. Marketing over time. We must do a case study actually on procurement. There was a time procurement was non-existent. All of a sudden now procurement has power. So what happened? We must do a case study on that one, on those ones, those people. What happened? And now the problem I'm having is that as marketeers, to survive, we thought we should assimilate. We decided to assimilate and do what we are being told. And now South Africa alone has fallen in the ratings on creativity. If you look at Cannes, anywhere where you have major advertising awards, we are no longer existent because we don't make great work. Because we are making work that is flat and ticking boxes, but we don't make great work. And great work comes from magic. And it comes from doing shit that you don't know it's going to work. And you're scared sometimes. You thumb suck with conviction. And you go to bed and you're like, hey, I'm not sure that thing's going to work. And then sometimes it works. And then you're like, hey, I'm great.
So think of a company like Apple or Google you used to work for. I mean, how much of Google's success would you put down to, and Apple, technological expertise, and how much would you put down to sheer genius marketing?
For me, it's end-end.
Yeah.
The end-end part is like Lorraine Tuhill, who's the CMO of Google Globals. The thing is, even at Google, they say like, know the user, know the product, and then know the magic. Those are the three things. So what it means then is know the user. At the core of everything is the user. So we must be user-centric. We must worship the user, understand the user. Then you must know the product, which is the solution. So you can't be a great marketeer if you don't have a great solution. What makes Google great is because the solution is great. What makes Apple great is the solution. As a marketer, it's much easier to build a brand with a great solution. If the solution is weak, we are just being doctoring. We are not being marketeers. So for me, it's end-end. It's just give me great user insights, a great solution, and then I wrap it all up in great emotive storytelling, and I make people cry and feel warm, and they even dream about the brand in their sleep. Then
Is that what's happening to me? Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, that's actually a beautiful way of expressing it. I really get. I've just got a couple of other questions. I mean, I'm always curious. What's the biggest lie in marketing?
the first one I had found all the time, is this one. I've told you that you need to be first in market. That's a lie. There's no really enough evidence that proves that being first gives you. I'll give you another example. Tesla might have been first maybe in the EV, but the Chinese brands now are here. And they are better than, and the price looks good. And so they were not first, but they are better than. So this idea of being first is a thing that we were taught early in Marketing 101, that you must be first in market, you must do, but there's no real much data that I see that supports that. The second one I see that's a lie is that the CMO or the brand team are the only ones who know the brand. They are not the only ones who know the brand. The entire business is a brand custodian. So that means you need to lower your ego and understand that the CFO, the CEO, everyone, chief HR officer is also a brand custodian. So that means you have many brand custodians, and you need to stop being irritated when people have an opinion about marketing. They should. They own the brand. You don't own the brand. Everyone owns the brand. You just so happen to be the mouthpiece of the user and the end user and the brand, but everyone owns the brand. So it's a lie that it's the same when people in HR, they own HR. No, we own HR. We're salaries, they are ours. So we also have an opinion on HR, and we should. And HR shouldn't catch feelings when we have an opinion on HR matters, on how we should retain people, attract people, we should also have an opinion on that. It's not HR only who cares a lot about human resources. We all do.
Because HR is trying to attract talent, and they often do it with sort of a simple job description or something. In fact, the attraction of talent is a complicated thing and happens so many different ways. Why is somebody attracted? Why is somebody, and I know you're not here to talk about Canva, but I'd love to know, you talked about the three things there, that attract, the keys of marketing, the user, etc. Can you explain those for Canva, which is a company you've just joined, and how quickly does it get to learn those things if you join a new company?
Oh, the key thing for me was first to figure out, does the product work? Because if the product is great, Canva already has millions of monthly active users in Africa, millions in South Africa. So already I know that was just organic growth. We hadn't done anything, but the product works. So that's the first part. The second thing for me is, how much good can we do with the product? Because I am a socialist and a capitalist. I'm not allergic to money. I'm not allergic to revenue, profit, but I also want to do the most good. And now Canva has a product where we give Canva for education for free. Public school, primary school, and high school. And all non-profits, if you run a non-profit, you can use Canva for free. So you can just go in and register and have the entire full stack of Canva doing good, designing for good. So that for me immediately says, okay, I think I can join this, because there's a part where we make money and there's a part where we do good. And I want both. And then the third piece for me is just values. That the business has like a few values. I think it's got 6. And the one that I like, it says be a good human. And that's a value. And the other one, it says pursue excellence. And then it says simplify complexity, and then have crazy big ideas and then make them happen. So when I have those things, then I'm like, okay, cool. I think I can come in and make sure that all public schools have Canva for education. And what it does, it improves storytelling. It improves reading for meaning. It improves reading for comprehension. And that, I think I can use the product to do that. And I can let all the NGOs use Canva, and they will grow, because NGOs are actually fundamentally important in South Africa. They are actually good. Other than government, NGOs are really good. And so if I grow those NGOs, more South Africans will do better. You see, that's my logic, is that the product and then the company values, and then I looked at the founders. And Canva is an Australian business, not an American business. And the founders are in Australia, and they're just good humans. And I met them and I spoke to them. I was like, okay, these humans I like. So they're good humans. And they seem also, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. So, which is good, because I shouldn't be. Even Rooibos is not liked by everyone. And they are okay with me. I'm the kind of tea they can drink. And they are the tea I can drink.
Okay, thank you. That was actually beautiful and extremely good marketing, by the way. Just so we notice. I mean, the authenticity you have really makes you want. And the last, I've got lots of questions, but I want to open up for the floor. Just a personal note about you. I know that you've got a passion for doing things for boys, African boys, to help them grow at school, and men. So can you just share a little bit about that really deep passion that defines you?
I am a product of opportunity. And I grew up in Khayelitsha, Gugulethu, Cape Flats, you name it. Like, my sister is there. So with me and her, we know poverty enough. So, and also my father abandoned me when I was young. So absent father, 7 out of 10 black kids are raised by single mothers. And that's a crisis. 5 out of 10 colored kids are raised by single mothers. That's a crisis. That's the first part. So the reason I come into this is to say, I know it was good to take a girl child to work. It was good that we needed to empower women. But I found that what we did in the process, we did an either or, we didn't do an and. So now black boys in particular and colored boys are falling behind. And they are falling behind at home. They are falling behind in education. The people who do the worst in education are boys, colored and black. High absenteeism, failure rate, dropout rate, and graduation rates. If you look at most universities, the highest number of people are graduating are black women. I'm just using black now. It's actually just women that are graduating faster than men. So what's going to happen in the long run? My job is I look at leads and conversions, and I'm looking at this gap widening, that if the current crop of black women who are empowered, economically free, mentally free, are struggling and they're saying, I'm a daughter, there's no men. Now my daughters are going to just think men were never existed. They don't exist. So we're going to create a marriage gap. We're going to create a dating gap. We're also going to increase gender-based violence, because when men are frustrated, they bleed on the people who did not cut them. So my job is to focus on boys and figure out a way, how do we get boys not left behind? How do we champion boys, especially black and colored boys? Prison, 95% of the prison inmates are colored and black boys. And that's it. So suicide rate, black boys and colored boys complete suicide at a 5 times rate. So in health, we do badly. Education, we're doing badly. At home, no father, we're doing badly. And there's enough data that shows that boys who don't have a father, their outcomes are poor. And those are the things I'm trying to work on. And I'm also begging mothers to be allies. And the key thing I always beg mothers on is, on Father's Day, can you please stop saying Happy Father's Day to me? And the second thing, can you please stop saying to your boy, your father is useless? Because I've heard it many a times when I was growing up. It's like, if someone says, you look like your father, what the boy hears is not that. They hear, me and my father are useless. Do you know that in all men who commit suicide, when you do a factor analysis and data analysis on their suicide notes, the 2 keywords that come up in their suicide notes is worthless and useless. And those words are used a lot by older men and women, and young boys hear it all the time. So I'm also begging you as well, like, can you please be our allies? I'm not saying men are not assholes. Like, I'm not saying we don't do wrong. We do wrong a lot, and we've wronged you a lot, but I'm just asking for the boy that he was not involved in this thing. Can we just, so that's my passion. So I run an organization called African Men Care, and it's there to democratize opportunity. At first, it was just 100% boys. Now, because I've got 3 daughters, we added girls because there's like a balance. And also, I've got 3 daughters, so they are woke. So I needed to make sure, but it's predominantly, my focus is democratize opportunity for young boys, and so that they can transcend the things that hold them in bondage, and they can become better men and good men. At least, not great, just good enough. And then the next crop, maybe in year 20 something, I'll be dead, then they will be great. So that's my passion.
What do you think? Oh, how about that? How about that, eh? Fantastic. Well done. And from a Henley point of view, we'd like to support you in that. I also passionately believe that. I have a boy and a girl. We've changed from 20% women on our MBA program to 55%, but we're also seeing the same sort of dynamics of boys, and we're deeply engaged and really would like to help. And so we volunteer that. Okay, that's the questions I'm asking. And so those of you who'd like to come and stand up here and ask the questions, come on up. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for an amazing talk. I've learned so much from you today. I want to talk about something that you've touched on, which is part of marketing, the advertising and using African languages. And so I've traveled throughout South Africa, and you find that in areas, in provinces where, for example, Limpopo, where the language is predominantly Sepedi, and there's a billboard that is in isiZulu or something like that, or even in Western Cape, where the billboard is in a different language. And I just wanted to find out from you, what is the solution? Because we find that a lot of the advertising agencies are based in the metropolitan areas, possibly in Johannesburg. And what is the solution in making sure that these products that are being advertised throughout the country are speaking to those people that are in those areas in their own languages, not in a language that is from another place? That's my question. Thank you.
I am an advocate for mother tongue, but also I'm an advocate because I don't think we realize that we can use advertising to decolonize the mind, and we can use advertising to increase pride in oneself, and we're not using it It's like we're not Pan-African enough, or Black consciousness, like Steve Biko died and then the whole thing died. The idea, we can actually take Black consciousness and put it everywhere. So we can. So that's the first part for me. And then the other one for me is what I try to do, it's hard to audit everything that you put out there. But what I try to do is, most of my team are my first people, because most of the team come from all these provinces. So I ask them, can we pair with one of your family members? When we launch something, I want to know from your family member, they must take pictures what they're seeing. And then they must hold us accountable. And if they're in Limpopo and they take a picture and it's in Zulu, then I can go to the agents and say, what's going on? There's a high probability that it means many of these are wrong. So I want you to change it. So mine is I partner. I ask someone, most of you here, 9 out of 10, there's enough people in your team that are living in these provinces, or they have family members in these provinces, and they can just do audits. And then I give you, when I work with Unilever, I'll just give you a hamper. The whole Unilever hamper. If I work at Vodacom, I'll give you airtime for free. People always like stuff, and I'll give you, and it doesn't cost us anything, but now I have a consumer who's committed to this brand, and they will tell me, oh no, that billboard is wrong, or that word they've used in whatever language is actually doesn't mean that, it means something else. And then I'm like, okay, I didn't know that, thank you very much, then I can change. But also I think the leadership now, the marketing directors, marketing managers, this is one place they pay no attention to. So all scripts are in English. Never asked why it's not in Afrikaans or another language. Now, what I found with marketeers, you are obsessed more with, are women represented? Are people with disability represented? So you've shifted, at least there's growth, but language as a component of making great work is not factored in. So we should start there as well. When an agency comes brief, we should put it a part of the brief that says, I will not approve this brief if I don't see how it works in other languages. So you start there, then the agency will respond. I mean, you paying the agency you have their power.
Cool. I think my question relates to what you were talking about creating stress, because I think what we found, or I've found, is that a lot of businesses want growth and revenue growth, which is quite key. And one thing that we're finding is that we struggle to balance growth with creativity. It's more, and I'll give an example. We were in a strategy session and we were asking, what is the room to be more innovative? And literally the leaders responded, they're like, I don't care about that. I want you to hit the target. So meaning at the end of the month, they're looking at the number. How many leads are in? How many SQOs? And how many converted to actual wins? And how much are you bringing in as a team? And if you don't hit that number, so it becomes a problem. I think it gets so discouraging as a marketing team, especially if you can't explore and be as creative as you want to. So I just want to know from you, how do you balance that, especially in an environment where it's just growth, money, and no leg room to stand on?
Yeah, it's a good one, because that's why there's the thing called brand performance and brand equity. And most people tend to think that you will have brand performance, which increases market share, sales, revenue, ARPU, all of those. That's brand performance. And then you have brand equity, which is like brand love, and it increases feelings, emotions, and all of that. I'm not sure it's either or always, because great work that makes you love the work also makes you buy the work. So it's a holy grail, this thing. And you're not going to get it right all the time. So mine has always been 80% we are chasing revenue. We are chasing what matters to the business. And we're going to get it right. Sometimes it's going to be boring, but it's going to work. It's brand performance. Then I say 20%, we're going to do work that makes us fall in love with why we are in marketing. But you can't escape the part where we need to deliver the number. We need to do, so we must earn the right to want to be given a platform to be creative, by making sure that we partner with the sales team, finance team, everyone else, product team, and get the numbers. Because when we deliver the numbers, most people leave you alone. And you can then do work. And then sometimes I put money on the side that says, do shit that scares us. And we're not going to tell everyone that we're doing it. And then we'll do it, we'll pilot it, test it. If it works, then we act like we've planned it all along. And so for me, I would say like 80% is brand performance. It's just doing, if you're lucky, sometimes you can do a retail ad that is so creative that you can then move it from brand performance retail and move it into something else and make more ad, because the idea travels. Sometimes it's just a retail ad. And just make peace with this. We're in the business of making money.
Hi, Mzamo. I'm Dawn. What really caught my attention when you were talking about things that really don't change in marketing was when you talked about brokenness and broke people in our teams. And I think I was hoping you could talk a little bit more and zero in on the brokenness of marketing departments, or the brokenness of the people that brief marketing departments or brief creatives, right? So we really want to run this campaign, or we need to achieve this, but we don't have budget. Or what's the budget? Oh, we're not sure. Come up with something. We don't have budget. And I really feel that that can really stifle creative potential. You know, when you live in your bachelor apartment on the 5th floor, you can't think about great landscaping ideas. And I find that as people who lead teams, we don't often protect our teams from the knowledge that we don't have budget, or that brokenness of the business, supposed brokenness of the business. So I'd love your take on basically in enhancing the richness of ideas in teams, regardless of the budget, in spite of the brokenness, and doing shit that scares us and that sort of stuff, rather than thinking, well, look, all I can do is present a few social media posts, but really just kind of think about solutions for products and businesses.
You are right. There's enough trend that shows that advertising budgets, or marketing in advertising budgets, are declining year on year. What I have found, though, is that a lot of the CMOs or brand teams do not spend enough time to educate their teams about the financials of the business. They don't spend enough time, like when the company announces its annual results or quarterly phasing results, how many of the marketers here sit your team down and say, let's go through these financials, so that you can understand what happens when cost growth exceeds revenue growth. And the biggest two items in most of these businesses on cost is marketing budget and people salary. They are the two biggest chunk of cost. And so if these costs are growing faster than revenue, then something has to go down to manage profit growth. But somehow we don't tell our teams this story of revenue minus costs, profit, and what happens to revenue when it grows slower than cost growth. And then it starts there for me. I feel like we have teams that are financially illiterate. And I blame the leader for not doing enough on that part. And then the second part is we tend to have a victim mentality, like we are victims of the business. The business, no CEO, CFO sleeps, and then they like, I'm looking forward tomorrow to frustrate marketing. I mean, I haven't met one. You sit and like, I'm going to frustrate those marketers tomorrow. I'm going to cut their budget by 20%. And then they are smiling like a sadist when you are complaining. And that doesn't exist as well. So we need to also get out of a victim mindset. The third part for me I've learned is whether the budget goes down or not, what you should be asking yourself is, what's the one thing that we can do well that justifies why we should get more? Because the only way you get more is by doing great work. And the more great work you do, the more likely they will open the purse. But if you're not doing great work, then they should cut the budget anyway. And so that we also still have a profit and we have shareholder value creation happening in this business. For me, you are right. Most businesses, not that they are broke, it's just they are managing shareholder value creation. We lack understanding of managing shareholder value creation. And we need to be value creators and stop thinking our job is just marketing.
My name is Brian Chivumo. I enjoyed everything that you said from the beginning. until you touched on something. And my question, I'll be asking it with humility of heart. You talked about getting obsessed with being the best or better, as opposed to being the first to market. Now, immediately when you say that, you touched on the concept called category design. And then you mentioned your journey in San Francisco. That gives me comfort that you can answer my question. In category design, we're doing the opposite. We are obsessed with being different than being better. And this is how brands like Apple, Uber, Airbnb, and those have been built. They have been built on the concept called category design. Be obsessed with being different and not better. Can we find harmony? You said you must be better. Category design says you must be different. Thank you.
Luckily, because I started my work as a research, so I was a market researcher first and a data analyst. So I've always been interested in correlation and causality. Now, here's the thing. The word different is no different from the word cool. No brand should ever claim different. It is the end user that decides you are different. You don't decide that. No, you decide you are cool. Nike, there's no brief at Nike. I work at Nike, and we never write the word cool. There's another keyword, helpful. You never decide you are helpful, or the end user decides that. So the keywords like different, cool, helpful, useful, when we measure them, what we are actually measuring is better than. That's what we are measuring. We're actually not measuring. The end user gets to decide you are different. They will use a shortcut word called you are different. It's the same when someone is dating you. The shortcut word is, oh, he's just different to the other one. But it's actually not what sets you apart from the other person. What sets you apart is the variables we call that we measure that builds up to that word different. It's the same with cool. The stuff that Nike does, where they show a cool athlete, they show Michael Jordan, they show Caster Semenya, they show all these athletes, and then because we have very few keywords, emotive words we can use, we sum it all up and say it's cool. You've aggregated lots of hard work, marketing hard work, in one word. It's the same with different. Actually, when you look at Apple, the key thing with Apple, even Steve Jobs, it was design. And it was typography. He spent a lot of time thinking about typography. So when you look at Apple's typography, it was very different to Microsoft. Whereas Microsoft was more interested in functional, what works. Apple didn't invent the laptop, but they just made it look beautiful. So the design was beautiful, so that when you whip up that laptop, it increases leads and conversion with other humans. Whereas when you lift up a Microsoft one, we are just looking that, oh, Shem, he's typing. I will see you typing. But when you're on an Apple, we start thinking, hey, this one. You see for me, I don't think you are wrong. You're not wrong when you use the words different or cool. I just think what they do, they miss the ingredients that get you to that word. And we are in the ingredients that get you to that word. And that's why I never want a brief that says we should be cool, we should be different, or it must go viral. It's the user that makes that decision, not you. You put the ingredients, and then the end user will taste the food and tell you that you are great. We are not in the business of setting the exam, writing the exam, marking the exam, moderating the exam, and then publishing the results that the pass rate is 85% when 20% of the boys failed.
Thank you. And so, Mzamo, thank you very much. Are you going to say thank you? I think Mama's got to give you. Can I say a few words of thanks?
Please say thanks. Yeah.
I really want to thank you because, marketing is that thing everyone talks about, but you've talked about stuff you've noticed, stuff you've done. I mean, I always think we should always think for ourselves, but not of ourselves. And you really have been thinking about what you're doing, making sense of it, the idea of first principle thinking, going at a problem and thinking for yourself how it works, not just taking. And the idea of the unreasonable person is where all progress comes from. Not the reasonable person who's in the middle of the road, but somebody who pushes a boundary, not to alienate everyone. You can come back in the team, but you need to push always to take you to somewhere different. And I think that's what you've done. You've been in a field that you're obviously really passionate about, but gifted in as well. But just being gifted isn't enough. You've worked at it. I can tell from what you said, you've really thought hard and worked for your understanding. You've put yourself in the middle of something. I've got really good insights that only come through really hard practice and application of real intelligence, which I do believe we all have, by the way. So it's about how do we apply it. So I really want to thank you for something that I found very interesting, actually moving as well. So wouldn't you agree? Yeah, big round of applause, please. Thank you very much indeed.